We broadcast live from the 2025 Grace Kennedy Foundation lecture, Breaking the Cycle of Childhood Trauma, on April 2. Join Professor the Honorable Wendell Abel, a leading expert in psychiatry, as he explores the long-lasting effects of childhood trauma and the path to recovery. It's an important conversation you don't want to miss. So tune in to Nationwide at 5 from 6 to 8 p.m. on Wednesday, April 2 for the 2025 Grace Kennedy Foundation lecture, Breaking the Cycle of Childhood Trauma. Register now at Grace Kennedy Foundation's Eventbrite page to watch the live stream. Don't miss it. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Big news! The Big Bite Food Safety Show now airs on Nationwide 90 FM with your host, Allison Richards, the Food Safety Girl. Join Allison every Tuesday from 1 to 2 p.m. as she serves up expert advice, tips, and insights on everything food safety. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and remember, food safety is everybody's business. Don't miss a bite of the action. Tuesdays at 1 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. On the next episode, we'll explore From Standard to Safety, the role of accreditation and certification in food safety. Food Safety Show, your go-to source for everything you need to know about food safety. I'm Allison Richards, your food safety girl and host of today's show. In today's episode, we're diving into two critical pillars of food safety: accreditation and certification. These two processes play a fundamental role in ensuring the food on our plate is safe to eat. We will take a deep dive into how accreditation bodies and certification organizations ensure food meets rigorous safety, quality, and ethical standards. We will be joined later today by two special guests: Dr. Yvette Castell, CEO of Jamaica National Agency for Accreditation, short for JNAC, and Mrs. Navinia Ford, manager of the National Certification Body of Jamaica. They will be explaining how they work together to protect consumers and maintain food quality standards. Now, the title of today's show is From Standards to Safety: The Role of Accreditation and Certification in Food Safety. From Standards to Safety: The Role of Accreditation and Certification in Food Safety. Now remember to send your questions you may have to our WhatsApp line at 876-280-6629. And before we get into today's show, I have a video to show you. Now, remember, last week episodes in keeping with Lent, and we featured food safety, seafood safety. Now, we're throwing it back a bit today just to share with you a video. And before sharing this video, I just wanted to call your attention to our guest last week, Dr. Lynette Peters, who is a public health veterinarian. She mentioned during last week's shows that the precautions that we should be taking as it relates to purchasing fish, and she made special mention of the fact that we should restrict our fish size to be no more than 2 pounds. Now, I'm going to be sharing a video with you now which kind of explains why it's important to keep your fish under a certain weight, which was recommended to be 2 pounds. So let's see what we have here.
This small fish gets eaten by a bigger fish, which gets eaten by an even bigger fish, which gets eaten by an even bigger fish. And that's how the food chain moves. But let's rewind. Small fish like sardines or anchovies, which are typically filter feeders, meaning they eat plankton and algae, but also tiny amounts of microplastics, biotoxins, and mercury that's floating around in the water. Then, a mid-sized fish like a mackerel or snapper doesn't just eat one sardine. It eats around 500 of these small fish per year. And with every bite, it absorbs the nutrients from the small fish, but also the toxins that the small fish collected. Now, a tuna, a much bigger fish, eats 100 of these mid-sized fish per year. This is why a big tuna compared to a sardine can have over 50 times more mercury. This process is called bioaccumulation, and that's when toxins build up over time. But when a predator eats hundreds of contaminated fish, those toxins multiply, and this process is called biomagnification. And that's why the biggest fish, like sharks, swordfish, and king mackerel, have the highest mercury levels in the ocean. The bigger the fish, the bigger the risk. So when it comes to fish, I like to follow SMASH, the 5 fish that are low in mercury and high in omega-3s. That's sardines, mackerel, anchovies, salmon, and herring. These fish sit lower on the food chain, meaning they don't accumulate nearly as many toxins, making them some of the best choices for both nutrition and sustainability. This small fish...
All right, so I think that video sums it up really, and that last acronym that he mentioned, SMASH, I want to take a leap here and to say that one of those S's could stand for sprat. You know, our small fishes that we enjoy so much during Easter. So I think that is a pretty helpful explanation of bioaccumulation, and it's referencing bioaccumulation as it relates to heavy metals and how they can impact this, or the size of the fish can determine your exposure as a human. Now, what would a food safety show be without food safety news? Our first news item for today is that the food store chain Aldi is recalling its Happy Farms Colby Jack finely shredded cheese due to potential contamination with metal fragments. The US FDA has issued a Class 2 recall indicating that consuming the affected product could cause serious health risks. The recall impacts 400 cases of 12-ounce pouches of cheese sold in Connecticut, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. We have a photo of this particular product for our YouTube viewers. And the affected products have the item number 170374 with a UPC code of 4061463330840 and best buy dates of July 13 and 14, 2025. Now, if you have these products in your refrigerator, it is advised that you do not consume it. This food store chain is working swiftly to remove these products from our store shelves, and that is the recall is a part of a broader trend with increasing food recalls in recent years linked to these shredded cheeses. So, my encouragement is for us to stay safe and to check your pantry. Our second news item for today is that a toxic spice mix-up in Canada in 2022 led to a mass poisoning incident affecting 14 people across British Columbia and Ontario. The problem stemmed from monkshood, a highly poisonous herb, being mislabeled as sand ginger powder. We do have a photo of the monkshood herb up. Now, this incident, described as Ontario's first mass toxin poisoning, prompted significant health warnings and revisions to food safety protocols. The study, published in Toxins, revealed that the toxin aconitine found in monkshood caused symptoms like irregular heart rhythms, dizziness, and vomiting. These symptoms appeared within hours of consumption, and 5 patients from Ontario required intensive care, though all eventually recovered. Now, laboratory tests showed dangerously high levels of aconitine in the spice, 6,100 parts per million in British Columbia and 5,500 parts per million in Ontario, well beyond the safe threshold. The contaminated spice was imported from China in January 2020, but the issue wasn't identified until 2022. 61 packages of the mislabeled spice were distributed across the country, leading to product recalls. However, risks lingered. One Ontario resident fell seriously ill in October 2022 after using pre-call stock. pre-recall stock, British Columbia faced delays in removing the product from store shelves, taking 13 days, while Ontario's response was faster, acting within 11 hours to close the affected restaurant. The provinces have since improved communication and collaborated more closely with poison control centres. They have also updated their outbreak response plans, translating important documentation like labels and invoices to aid investigations. Officials are now urging everyone with sanded ginger powder purchased before 2022 recall to discard it, as old stocks may still pose a health risk. This case serves as a stark reminder of the potential dangers of mislabeled food products and the importance of robust food safety practices. Our third news item for today is that in a recent recall, Cargill Kitchen Solutions is pulling over 100 tons of liquefied egg products due to potential contamination with a cleaning solution containing sodium hypochlorite, a substance commonly found in bleach. According to the USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Service, the recall involves 212,268 pounds of products produced on March 12 and 13, 2025. The affected products include several varieties of egg beaters and Bob Evans veteran eggs, sold in 32-ounce cartons like we have displayed on our video right there, with various use-by dates stretching into 2025 and 2026. These items were shipped to locations in Ohio, Texas, and food service locations in Arizona, California, Colorado, Florida, Illinois, and Iowa, with a possibility of nationwide distribution. The contamination was discovered after a tip from FSIS prompted an investigation. Though the cleaning solution is unlikely to cause harm, FSIS is advising consumers and food service operators to dispose of or return the affected products. No adverse health effects have been reported, but those concerned are encouraged to contact a healthcare provider. The products involved are marked with the establishment number G1804 on their cartons, and consumers should check their refrigerators and freezers. Now, it's important for us to stay safe and check your purchases if you are in the affected areas. Also, we might have Jamaicans traveling in those areas that you want to keep an eye out for these products. Now, our fourth news item for today is that authorities in Costa Rica are investigating the tragic death of a 14-year-old U.S. citizen, potentially linked to a foodborne illness. The victim was found dead in his bed on March 21 at the Arenas del Mar Resort in Manuel Antonio after he and family members fell ill following a meal at a nearby restaurant. Initial reports suggest food intoxication as a possible cause, a term often used for foodborne illnesses. However, a preliminary autopsy ruled out airway obstruction, and authorities are now considering whether an allergic reaction to medication from a resort doctor may have contributed. No definitive link to the contaminated food has been established. Now, foodborne illnesses are a global concern, with the CDC estimating that they cause 3,000 deaths annually in the US and 420,000 deaths worldwide. Traveling, especially to regions with different sanitation standards, can amplify these risks. Experts urge caution when dining abroad, particularly in developing countries where locals may be more accustomed to the bacteria in local foods. And yes, that is a thing. The investigation into the victim's death is ongoing, with toxicology results expected in the coming months. In the meantime, food safety experts emphasize the importance of proper food preparation and hygiene to prevent illnesses while traveling. Our last news item for today is that in a recent recall, Reyes Coca-Cola Bottling LLC, based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, is pulling 864 packs of Coca-Cola Original Taste off the shelves due to potential plastic contamination. The recall, initiated on March 6, 2025, affects 12 cans of Coca-Cola with the UPC code 049000028904 and can with UPC code 049000006346. These products were distributed in Illinois and Wisconsin. This is a Class 2 recall, meaning while the risk of severe health consequences is low, there is still potential for temporary or reversible effects, such as choking, oral injury, or gastrointestinal discomfort if the plastic is ingested. Consumers are urged not to consume, sell, or distribute the affected products and should check their inventories for the date code September 29, 2025 MDA with timestamps between 11 and 12:53. Now, while this recall primarily affects the US, these products would not typically be found in Jamaica unless brought in by a relative or a traveler from the affected states. It's important to note that Coca-Cola available in Jamaica is locally produced. Though the recall carries a low risk, anyone who experiences adverse effects should seek medical attention immediately. So stay safe and check your Coca-Cola purchases if you are in affected areas. We're going to go for a quick break. Stay tuned to the Big Bite Food Safety Show.
Me grew up as my granny save her money under her mattress.
But at an old time something. That's where I save my money in the bank. And become a one buy a little house, we also save in a building society. We have to be smart with how we save our money.
So what if the bank crash?
Well, that's where JDIC comes in. Make I tell you something. With the JDIC Deposit Insurance Scheme, once you save your money in a commercial bank, merchant bank, or building society, your deposit is covered up to a maximum of $1.2 million per depositor per financial institution if the institution fails. All the information that you need is available at jdic.org, and you can follow their social media platform for more information.
JDIC, protecting deposits for you and me.
How many times have we seen people reveal the most personal and intimate parts and places they do in the public domain? Then boops, all Dolly House mash up, and they're requesting privacy during this time. How must people be asked to respect your privacy when you haven't even shown it to yourself? How important is it for couples to be seen in the public space in order for validation and acceptance to be proof? Why do some partners insist every moment must be revealed? What is the relationship rate of success for those who are public versus private? What are the pros and cons? Join me, Rodney Campbell, every Tuesday from 9 to 10:30 p.m. for Affairs of the Heart, right here on Nationwide 90 FM. This Tuesday's topic: if we're not all over social media, does that mean our relationship isn't the real deal?
Affairs of the Heart is brought to you by Supermed Pharmacy. Super happy, super healthy, Supermed. The Ministry of Health and Wellness. Healthy people, healthy environment. Dewars. Here's to the story. And Durex. Distributed by Massey Distribution Limited, Jamaica.
Nationwide 90 FM wants to help you find your home sweet home with all things real estate. A 15-minute program during Nationwide This Morning every Wednesday at 8:35 a.m. All Things Real Estate gives you expert advice on how to navigate the process of owning any real estate, from residential and commercial to industrial or even vacant real estate. We'll guide you through every square foot of information. Now, let's turn that for sale into sold with All Things Real Estate every Wednesday at 8:35 a.m. on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
All Things Real Estate is brought to you by Law Boss Attorneys at Law.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to help us grow our business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Trauma can impact more than just your childhood. It can shape your future. Tune in to Nationwide at 5 from 6 to 8 p.m. as we broadcast live from the 2025 Grace Kennedy Foundation lecture, Breaking the Cycle of Childhood Trauma, on April 2. Join Professor the Honorable Wendell Abel, a leading expert in psychiatry, as he explores the long-lasting effects of childhood trauma and the path to recovery. It's an important conversation you don't want to miss. So tune in to Nationwide at 5 from 6 to 8 p.m. on Wednesday, April 2 for the 2025 Grace Kennedy Foundation lecture, Breaking the Cycle of Childhood Trauma. Register now at Grace Kennedy Foundation's Eventbrite page to watch the live stream. Don't miss it. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Welcome back to the Big Bite Food Safety Show. I'm your Allison Richards, your food safety girl and host. Today, we are talking about accreditation and certification. The title of today's show is From Standards to Safety, the Role of Accreditation and Certification in Food Quality. As I promised earlier, my guests are in studio with me, and today we're going to be getting into that discussion of how these two major processes play a role in ensuring that your food is safe. Now, inspectors out in the field lab tests for food products, safe food products on your shelves. What do they all have in common? Each of these play a critical role in ensuring the safety and quality of the food we consume every day. Accredited inspection bodies with skilled inspectors visiting your food factories and food processing plants provide the oversight needed to meet strict food safety standards. Accredited labs performing rigorous tests on food samples confirm that what's on your plate is free from harmful contaminants. But behind these processes, how do these various bodies and systems work together to build trust and protect you, our consumers? How do accreditation and certification shape the food safety landscape, and what does it take to make sure that food products are truly safe from production all the way to you, the consumer? Let's get into it. Now, today we have in studio here Dr. Yvette Castell, CEO of Janac Global, and Mrs. Navinia Ford, manager of the National Certification Body of Jamaica. Welcome to you guys.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here today to discuss this critical role that both these processes play in ensuring food safety. But before we get into that discussion, let's get to know you guys a bit better. Dr. Castell, can you tell us what JANAC stands for and a bit about what it does in relation to food safety?
Okay, so JANAC is an acronym for the Jamaican National Agency for Accreditation, now trading as JANAC Global Accreditation. We're an agency of the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce that Jamaicans call the Business Ministry. Now, JANAC has as a mandate the accreditation of conformity assessment bodies, which we will refer to as CABs. And we do so to maintain and to meet applicable requirements. That's international requirements as well as local, as well as international regulatory requirements. Now, JANAC is the only internationally recognized accreditation body in the English-speaking Caribbean, and that is something that all Jamaicans need to be proud of.
Because that's a big deal, very
Yes,
big deal.
a big deal. And so we play a very vital role in building trust as well as facilitating regional and global trade. We began operations back in April of 2008, and thus far we have accredited over 100 conformity assessment bodies.
Wow.
Yes. Now, we do so not just in Jamaica, but in 10 other Caribbean islands. So we are regional.
Well, you said global, so
Yes.
you're living up to that name.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I love that.
And those Caribbean islands, do you want me to?
Sure, you can give our
All
listeners
right. So we have accredited conformity assessment bodies in Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, Suriname, as well as Trinidad and Tobago.
So my question for you is, you mentioned conformity assessment bodies. Just give our viewers and listeners who may not know what these bodies are some examples of what these could be.
Okay, so our conformity assessment bodies, these are organizations that perform specific tests or specific activities, including testing, inspection, and certification. So examples of conformity assessment bodies, and of course I will mention some of our accredited ones, would include the acronym FSPID, but that's the Food Storage and Prevention of Infestation Division, and they are an entity of the Ministry of Agriculture. We also have the Bureau of Standards. We actually have accredited 8 laboratories from the Bureau of Standards. These are testing laboratories, so they do various kinds of testings, microbiological testing, packaging, etc. And we also have named an inspection body, which is the FSPID, testing labs, Bureau of Standards, and then we also have accredited certification bodies. We have accredited the Trinidad and Tobago certification body.
All right, so that's I think that explains it. And I'm running right over to Mrs. Ford.
Yes.
Tell us what the NCBJ is and your role as it relates to food safety.
Sure. So the NCBJ, the acronym, stands for the National Certification Body of Jamaica, and the name says it all because right in there's a certification. That's what we do. I would say that so JANAC, or accreditation bodies such as JANAC would accredit the cabs, and then the certification body such as NCBJ would then take it from that standpoint. We would then take your products right into the market. So if it is that you're certified by us, and how is it that we interrelate with food safety and food industry, we will make sure that through certification, your goods can get market share or go into the market that it wants to be. So as a certification body, we offer to our clients certification products. And I know in school they said, don't use certification, don't use this word to explain the word. But I'm using it deliberately because I want us to reiterate and to get the emphasis on certification. It's a validation. It is a showcase to say that my products, my goods and services have met the requirements, the international requirements that are out there, and they have met this best practice.
Yeah.
We have the evidence through this certificate to show you that we have done so, and therefore we need our share of the market. We need to go into the region, and because of that, we also offer our services across the region too.
So we'll get into that in a bit. You mentioned and you've defined for our viewers and listeners what certification is, but I want to hear from Dr. Castell now, what is accreditation? Because what we're trying to establish and get our viewers and our listeners to understand that these two processes impact each other. Accreditation makes a certification body capable of carrying out and offering that certification. So explain for our viewers and listeners, Dr. Castell, what is accreditation? Because the words sound big, and I don't want anybody to leave today's show not being clear exactly on what accreditation and certification is.
Okay, so on the other hand, accreditation is an independent evaluation of the conformity assessment bodies, such as the National Certification Body of Jamaica.
Yeah.
And what this does is it says that the activities that these conformity assessment bodies perform, that they are done impartially, and that they are done by persons who are competent to perform those activities, and that they are being done to standards that are recognized, so international standards or local standards that are recognized. The methods that they are using to perform the activities, whether those activities be inspection or testing, those methods are also standard methods, or they have been verified and validated for use.
Excellent. And I just want to do a little layman transfer. It means, say, when Dr. Castell from JANAC goes to a certification body like NCBJ. When NCBJ come out there and them doing them work, and the inspectors who are accredited are coming to do them work, is not no dibby and no shabby. It means that whatever they are doing, an international body has looked at them and say, you pass the test, you know what you do, on a have it.
Yes.
Right, Dr. Castell?
That is correct.
I love that. We're going to go for a quick time signal. We'll be back shortly.
At the Jamaica Customs Agency, we care for our employees, customers, stakeholders, citizens, and our country. Customs cares. The temperature by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
30 degrees Celsius in Kingston and 29 degrees Celsius out there in Montego Bay. Welcome back to the Big Bite Food Safety Show. My name is Alison Richards, your host and food safety girl. Today we're in studio with two important guests, Dr. Yvette Castell, CEO of JANAC Global, and Mrs. Ford, the manager of the National Certification Body of Jamaica, short for NCBJ. And I just want to point out, we don't mean the bank, okay? It's the same acronym, but it's not the bank. So please do not go and show up to NCB thinking that they can offer you some certification services. It's a National Certification Body of Jamaica. And we are talking about the role that accreditation and certification plays in ensuring that you, the consumers, get safe food when you go to the supermarket, when you are shopping at your local shop, wherever it is that you're purchasing food. This is what these two major organizations do to ensure that you are safe and your loved ones are safe as well. Now, continuing the discussion, we covered what these two entities do. We've also covered the difference and the definitions of accreditation and certification. And now we want to get into the framework. Now, accreditation bodies often set frameworks or standards that guide food safety practices. Dr. Castell, could you share how accreditation bodies like JANAC set frameworks for food safety, and what key elements do you usually focus on?
Okay, so in the food industry, accreditation bodies, what they do is that they ensure that food safety and quality assurance organizations, that they are properly aligned and that the persons are properly qualified to carry out their work. So an accreditation body will assess a food safety certification body, such as the NCBJ or other bodies that certify foods, and they also do that to a standard that is called the ISO IEC 17025 standard, which is the standard that for conformity bodies that practice testing. In addition, we, the accreditation body, we are in turn held to a certain standard. That standard is called the ISO IEC 17021 standard, which is a standard that is specifically meant for accreditation bodies. So we do not get off the hook. We are peer evaluated by other accreditation bodies to ensure that we are doing or we are practicing accreditation in line with the requirements of the ISO IEC 17021 standard. So when we assess a certification body that provides food safety services, we are giving that body a mark of trust. So we are saying to the consumers of the products or the services that they offer that these activities are being done in an environment that ensures that the food that is being tested by these bodies, that the methods are credible methods, and that the results are going to be results that can be trusted, so that they have that assurance that the food that they are eating will meet certain standards or certain requirements.
And before I get to Mrs. Ford, I know in a culture at Jamaica where we always say links do the thing. I think what you're essentially saying is that no amount of links cannot get you accredited to carry out the work of a conformity assessment body. So that is just a bit of a assurance to our viewers and listeners that this is a ironclad process. It's impartial. There's no, way to go around getting that certification. And for Mrs. Ford, I know we have food safety standards such as the ISO 22,000, which is a food safety standard. We have our HACCP standards, that Codex would have developed. How do certifications like those, in accordance with those standards, influence food safety practices at the manufacturing level? And how do they align with these accreditation standards that Dr. Castell has referenced?
Okay, so there are two words that in your conversation just now I liked. I like the word credible, and I like the word assurance that you also use, because that's what it all comes down to. What is it that we're doing? So how is it that we go about doing certification, and how is it that it's linked to our food business operators? So the standards that you mentioned, they are internationally recognized standard. And it means then that the certification body or processes would have been evaluated at international level, and our auditors and our processes internally would have come out to meet best practices, international best practices. It's that recognition now that we want to also give to our clients that are certified. So how is it that we impact food business operators? It's about from the grassroots level coming up. We also consider what we call the food safety chain. At any, from the start to the end, at any part of that chain, there can be a break, there can be a breach. When you have what is called a food safety culture that you integrate into your food business operation and you use these standards, it doesn't matter which standard, whether it is the ISO 22000 or the HACCP, or as basic as GMP certification, which we also do. The reality is that you inculcate your persons, you look at the risk of food safety. What are they? How do you manage them? How do you prevent a breach from happening? If a breach happens, what do you do? So it is a circular motion. It starts from all level understanding what we say it's a food safety culture, because food safety is about prevention. You cannot throw away a batch of product after you're finished making it because you realize that there's a risk happening. As a small business, you'll go out of business. So what we're saying with a food safety culture and using standard and going the extra step of getting certified, it means that you're preventing. What have you done? What have you invested in? How have you so trained and developed your workforce in your food business operation to ensure that if something is going on, they can pick it up right away. They can say to you that, let's stop at this point because something is going wrong, so we can sort it out and then we can move on. And that is what we call preventative, because you are catching anything that can happen before you reach the end, because you don't want to throw away a complete batch.
Yeah, so you have said it well, and you made a state. You called a word just now, 2 words, extra step. That extra step. With based on the discussion we're having, I'm understanding that people might just be wondering, so what happened to the inspector them? What happened to the regulatory bodies? Why is it that we're at certification? But you've answered it, and I want you to elaborate. You've mentioned that extra step. What is it that, in terms of certification, and I will invite Dr. Castell to be a part of the discussion, how is it that certification and accreditation helps to protect our consumer? How does it impact consumer safety and trust?
Here's a fact, basic. The laws of the land, they are basic requirements. They are set that way to ensure that all businesses can achieve them. And that's good because we all have to achieve them and you don't want to stifle anybody out of the business. However, if you want to compete, if you want to increase your market share in Jamaica, and sometimes we get the feedback that I'm not looking to export. My next question is that why not? But nevertheless, if you want to stay on our Jamaican markets, I welcome you and I am there to give you the certification for that. But whether you want to get more market share in Jamaica or you want to export, it is going this extra step that is going to give you that requirement. To go into any other market, you need to do more than just have your persons know about hand washing or the food handling regulations that they do for your food handler's permit. It takes a little bit more. And that is the assurance that we are giving you. We are saying to you that it's not just about pest control. It's not just about washing your hands. It's about what else that is there. The risk that you need to look at. And with food safety and a food safety management system, that's what it's all about. Because not knocking inspectors, because we build on the foundation that they lay. So regulations lay a foundation, and then us in the business go the step further, and that's why we call it an extra mile. And it's an extra mile because while the regulations mean that you must do it, our business means that you are showing your commitment. What is your commitment to the safety, food safety of your consumers? And that commitment is what you're going to demonstrate by implementing the standards that we are speaking about and in getting certified. So that is the assurance that you give. That is the support that we give to food business operators. And it comes full circle because at the end of the day, who are you going to buy from? Somebody who can give you a demonstration, a display to say that I have been certified, or somebody who does not have that.
Thank you. And do you have anything to add to that, Dr. Castell?
Oh, sure. I'm going to start out by looking at the various food safety requirements or standards that are available globally. So you'd have heard about HACCP, Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. You'd have heard about the Food and Drug Administration and their various programs, like the third-party certification program and the accreditation, LAAF, which is the laboratory accreditation for analysis of food programs. Now, when a body offers certification to those particular standards, what JANAC does is we will now go in and assess these bodies that are offering certification. And we will ensure that the systems that they have in place, their food safety systems, are impartial. So they will not go ahead and certify a system that is not ready or is or has loopholes which will cause our consumers to be affected or impacted adversely. So we ensure that they have a system in place that is impartial, that the individuals that are performing these tests, that those individuals are competent and they are not going to be cutting corners, and instead of incubating for 3 hours, they decide to incubate for 2 hours. That the temperatures and the measurements that they are supposed to be upholding, that those are upheld. And most importantly, we ensure that the standards to which they are operating are international standards or known standards. So it's not a standard that they would have developed for themselves and say, okay, this is a local standard that we are just going to be adhering to. So the accreditation body is important to ensure that the certification bodies or the certifiers of the products and services that persons are going to be consuming, that those are guaranteeing or providing an assurance for the consumer.
Great. I love that explanation. And I just wanted to underscore this point that both Dr. Castell and Mrs. Ford has mentioned, that, you know, we're here talking and we can get a bit technical in this industry. And for my viewers and listeners who may, you know, probably a bit lost. I just wanted to underscore it to say, what is all of this talk about sanitation and making sure, pest control and the regular consumer honestly doesn't care. But the underscoring and or what I want to communicate is that it is the culmination of all of these different aspects that's happening inside a food processing establishment. That is what makes the food safe at the end of the day. And I mean, we cook at home every day and we cook in our kitchen and we are doing like our own thing and we taste the spoon. And just imagine if a stranger was out there just dipping them finger in the pot and taste it to them. So like, that is why it's important. So that is why we're having these discussions about food safety systems, because that is really what your local, your international food processors and manufacturers, anybody who is involved in the making of food and testing and stuff, those are the things that happen behind the scenes. Why we can go out there and eat something today and we don't wake up tomorrow. And that's really really the bottom line.
Yes.
Hold your thoughts. We're going to go for a quick break and we'll be right back on the Big Bite Food Safety Show.
Hey there, commuters, big news! Your JUTC SmartFare cards are here! It's time to swap out those old Smarter cards and step into the future of easy, efficient travel. We know transitions take time, but let's get started. Here's how. Grab your Smarter card and your ID. Bring it to any JUTC ticket office. We will then switch you to a SmartFare card. Top up and voila! Your brand new SmartFare card is ready to roll. No stress, your balance moves with you to your sleek, upgraded SmartFare card. So, out with the old, in with the new. Right, with SmartFare.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90FM is searching for business development executives to help us grow our business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Welcome back to the Big Bite Food Safety Show. We are continuing our discussion for today about accreditation and certification. We're looking at how these two processes impact food safety. And before the break, we touched on consumer trust. How is it that accreditation and certification plays a role in building your trust as a consumer? How do you go out into the marketplace confidently buying food products? And we want to further this discussion, not only looking at consumers, but as a food manufacturing entity. How does accreditation and certification play a role in competition? Because we all know nobody creates a business to sit down and just look around. It's to be the leading service or product provider in their industry. So how is it? What role does certification and accreditation play in ensuring that there is competition? And I mean healthy competition, because the main goal and the end product is really safe food for consumer. Dr. Castell?
Okay, so accreditation actually provides a competitive edge for our conformity assessment bodies. We are in a global arena. Jamaica is no longer the border of our trade. And so if you wish to export to, for example, the United States of America, the Food and Drug Administration will not accept certain products or certain material from an organization that is not recognized by them. And so JANAC, we offer accreditation to certifying bodies or to bodies that test foods that will be going to the United States of America. So, and we also offer third-party accreditation for those bodies. So they instantly have a competitive edge. It means that when their product reach to the U.S. frontier, that they don't have to send them to a testing lab. They already have a
They're
visa.
pre-approved.
Yes,
Yeah, the food of a visa.
Yes,
I love that.
Yes, they have a
I love
visa.
that. The food of visa, yes.
They are pre-approved,
Yeah.
and so they will be able to enter once they have that accreditation certificate to say that these are coming from a JANAC accredited entity.
I love that.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mrs. Ford?
Okay, so I'll put it this way. Give the response in a information that we got from clients. More than one client, but to sum it up, they wanted to go into a particular market. They wanted to trade. And it seems as if they couldn't enter the market, they wouldn't get through. Until the question came, are you certified? And they said yes. The buyer said, okay, let me see evidence of that. And they were able to provide their certificate. And with that certificate, it separated them from others that was going off after the same business. So that's what it is in a nutshell. Certification separates you from the pack. Having this certificate that you can use to demonstrate that you have implemented this best practice, that you're meeting these requirements, that a third party is coming into your entity. You have to open up your entity, and we come in and we go through your processes and match them against the requirement of the standard. And we do that so that you can get a visa, right? Your food can get a visa to go overseas. So that's what certification does. It separates you from the pack, and that's where you are going to breeze.
Right
Pass
through immigration.
Right through immigration and pass all the other competitors.
And I'd want to add, I think it also signals that you care enough to set yourself apart.
Yes.
You care enough to go that extra mile for your end user,
Man,
which
you're
is your consumer.
demonstrating to everybody, all your stakeholders, how committed you are to this.
I love that. So to wrap up our discussion today, I want both of you to just describe Dr. Kessel is going to describe for me the accreditation process, the types of accreditation. I mean, you've touched on the types. So how is it if I'm interested in becoming accredited, I want to create an inspection body and I want to go anything, a lab, how is it what does that process look like? What are the steps involved and how long does it usually take?
Okay. All right. So typically we have 8 steps towards accreditation. Firstly, you will make an inquiry, or you can actually access our information on our website at www.janaac.gov.jm. So you can make an inquiry or access the information on our website. Then you will have to submit an application form, and the application form would be accompanied also by an application fee of a stipend $1,000, which will allow us to now ask you for the information for your system, your quality management system. When that information is sent into us, we will perform what is called a document review. So we'll review all of what you have sent in, and then we will send you a report to say how close you are from the standard that you're applying to be accredited to.
So it's like a pre-assessment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But we have pre-assessment in another sense, in that we offer professional fees that are professional fees free pre-assessment for persons who have applied and we would have reviewed their information. You can get a sneak preview, so to speak, without having to pay any professional fees, but you'd need to pay like the ground transportation or transportation. We offer that. After you have done the document review, and if there are any findings and you work on them and close them out, then you are ready for the actual assessment process. The assessment process is going to, the length of it is going to depend on the scope or what activities you want to be accredited to. So what testing activities or what inspection activities or what certification activities you want to be accredited to. After you've done the assessment itself, which is on-site, typically for their first or your initial assessment, then we will provide a report that gives you, if there are findings, then it will tell you what the findings are, and you will work on closing those out. You have 4 months in which to close out those findings. So the speed of your accreditation depends on how quickly you close out those findings.
Okay.
After you've closed out those findings, then the package goes to what is called an accreditation evaluation committee that will review and make a decision on whether or not you can be recommended for accreditation.
Okay.
The recommendation from that AEC, Accreditation Evaluation Committee, goes then to an accreditation council. And the council will review and ratify that recommendation. And if it is a go, then you would be awarded your initial certification.
Great.
Yes.
What about you, Mrs. Ford? Quickly explain the certification process and, for persons who may want to, let me hear what the NCBJ
All right. So certification lasts for 3 years. Food safety certification that we offer. And we can get you certified in as little as 3 months or 6 months. Again, as Dr. Castell said, the speed at which we provide these services really depend on the company. First, you apply to us, and once we get you contracted with us, then you are audited. You're audited to make sure that everything is going in accordance to the standard. If you have completed all of that without any adverse findings, then you can move into the next step. If you have adverse findings, then you are given a time for you to close those out. Once you are ready to move on to the next step, it's about us conducting an independent review to make sure that all the requirements have been satisfied and fulfilled, and then you are given your certificate. We don't leave you on your own, though. The certificate is something, the process. We come and we do an evaluation where we conduct a surveillance audit. So with certification, you can be certified, you submit your application, we conduct the audit, we evaluate to make sure that you're meeting all the requirements, everything is done, then you move on to when you get your certificate, or we say that we issue you your certificate. And that is a process that will last for 3 years. However, you can be certified in 3 months or 6 months. Right?
Okay, and is there a website that person
Sure.
who would want more information? Go ahead with it.
Sure. We try to make sure that we're accessible at all points. So we are on our website is ncbj.org.jm. We're also on Instagram. We're on Twitter, and we're also on, or should I say X?
X, it's not X.
And we're on Facebook also.
Okay.
So, and if emails, it's at info@ncbj.org.jm.
And is Janak on any social media you want to share
Oh,
with?
sure.
Okay.
We are also on X, and we are also on Instagram. And if you want further information, you can send an email to info@janac.gov.jm. We also offer technical training and other training for conformity assessment bodies that want to get accredited or that are accredited and want to maintain the accreditation. Or accreditation lasts for 4 years. It's a 4-year cycle. And every year we will perform what is called an interim assessment, where we come to look to ensure that you are maintaining the systems that are in place. And for training information, you can send that to our training at janac.gov.jm.
Okay, awesome. So this has been such an insightful conversation today. But before we finish up, I just want to let you guys know that if you have any other questions about NCBJ or JANAC, I want you to know that the JMEA Expo that's coming up on Friday 4th they will actually be there. So run out, come out, any questions you have. There will be persons sitting at their booths waiting with open arms to welcome you on to the side of accreditation and certification. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me today. Before we go or end today's show, I wanted to answer news commentator J.A. question from last week. She told me that I needed to come. She came in with her book and paper this week for me to tell her which food she's not supposed to eat. And my short answer for that is that no food is an exemption. As the famous Swiss physician says, Paracelsus, the dose is what makes the poison. And I want to allay any fears. My platform is not to drive fear as it relates to food safety. It's for you to become more informed and to make informed decisions. So the dose is what makes the poison, and it just means that we should consume everything in moderation. And as we say in Jamaica, too much of one thing, good for nothing. So thank you so much for joining us today on the Big Bite Food Safety Show, your go-to source for all things food safety. I hope today's episode has empowered you with valuable insights. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and remember, food safety is everybody's business. A huge thank you to the studio and production team, technical operator Damian, producer Tracy Lyle. Stay tuned for the entertainment block. Don't forget to stay connected with me via my socials at The Food Safety Girl, Instagram, Facebook, not on Twitter, not on X, TikTok, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, 876-802-5114. Thank you for tuning in. See you next week. Bon appetit.
How many times have we seen people reveal the most personal and intimate parts and places they do in the public domain? Then boops, all Dolly House mash up, and they're requesting privacy during this time.